Now, as I mentioned, I was born and bred in Dublin, Ireland, and I've been living in the UK for quite a long time, but I'm actually moving to Spain next month. So I am doing a little Brexit just before England does a Brexit, which is another area that we won't talk about today. But if anybody would like to connect, do please find me on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on all the social media. You spell my name Oisinluny. I'm in the app and the program. And if you connect with me, I will send you a free mixtape. Because one of my few jobs that I do is I'm also a music editor for a fashion magazine, so I like to bring together nice collections of music and share it with some very close friends and family every month by MailChimp. So just a little notice, if you haven't been sharing stuff already on social media, I would really encourage you to please join the conversation, particularly on Twitter and Instagram. Now, the hashtag for this year is South Summit 18. So please use hashtag South Summit 18, and please feel free to connect with myself. Tag me if you like, tag any of the speakers on stage, and particularly on our next panel when we have a big group of real expert speakers coming to join us. So do we have that? Yes, we have 6 water bottles, we have 6 chairs, we're looking good. How are we doing on people coming in? Do you think we should crack on now or leave it a few minutes? Oh yeah, lovely, thank you. So some great advice there from one of my colleagues. If you wouldn't mind kind of gathering in the middle, if you're sitting on the edge, maybe move in a little towards the middle, so if people are coming in, there's lots of people outside, so they're going to be able to sit down nice and easy without having to step over you and knock over your bag and your coffee, etc. So that would be hugely appreciated, thank you. Okay, yeah, and I think we might be ready to go. That's wonderful. So thank you all so much for your cooperation. That was really smooth. And we're delighted to introduce our next group of speakers. And they're all going to be talking about blockchain, building the pillars of transparency, trust, and user experience, UX. So I'm going to read out all the speakers' names as they come and join us on the stage. We've got quite a few. We've got 6 leading experts in the field of blockchain. So we have Daniel Diaz Garcia from UST Global, Carlos Kuchkovsky from BBVA, Jose Minguez from Endesa, Alvaro Gracia Arroyo from Telefonica, Christopher Burkan from Motionwork, and Miguel Caballero from Tutela. So please welcome our 6 expert speakers to the stage to speak about blockchain, building trust, and the pillars of transparency with UX. Thank you very much. Wonderful. Awesome.
Well, thank you very much. So this panel will be divided into 2 steps. The first one is going to be more about what are currently businesses facing right now. So it's going to be more about efficiency, relating especially on user experience. And the next one will be like how current businesses, the big ones and startups as well, are facing new sort of challenges coming from really open and distributed markets. So in first order, I would like to talk first about this user experience. Currently, we are facing some different issues on how can we manage reconciliation information. One thing we need as businesses is to have liquid expectations, right? To have services that know a lot about our customers so that they can satisfy their needs in real time, so that we can also offer really tailor-made services. On top of that, we need new solutions, new platforms, and new technologies that are also empowered by basic laws as the new GDPR regulation that wants to bring the control of the information to the end customer. So relating to this issue, how are you currently approaching this digital identity issue? How are you currently adapting your services in order to be tailor-made real-time to your customers right now?
Our approach is very simple. Right now, we are at the level of the first pilots to really test the technology at with a lot of charts, because blockchain is a new technology you know well because it's been very popular. But when you make a lot of transactions, it comes a little bit slow. And you have to think that at the end, the user doesn't care about the technology. He cares about the user experience. So if he feels the platform goes slow, then he's not going to use this technology. The technology, we always say we are technology agnostic about this. And this is from the point of view of the user experience. From the point of view of the use cases, of course, the first approach we are taking is focusing on making things we already do better. This, for example, the best example will be Enerchain, which I believe is going to be one of the most famous projects because they are 47 utilities companies from all Europe who have got together. This makes a lot of complexity to make this work, but they have got together. They are developing the platform. They're making our society, doing all the management of the society, and this is applying something we are already doing, which is trading. Energy trading between countries to a platform who really gives a lot of value using technology, which is, in this case, is blockchain.
In the case, for example, of UVA, you are already creating this open API market where you can even, also with your app, introduce information from competitors. That's really curious. And in the case of Telefónica, also with Aura, you're also trying to focus, right, on the same end customer and create a sort of new service on top of that. What is your current experience of that, given all the experience you have?
The vision our CEO is to try to offer the best product as possible to our customers. And this product could be from BBVA or from the market. And it's why we are working on, or where we are working on. Talking about the user experience, for me, as we were saying, blockchain is a technology. Now you don't need to deal with TCP/IP when you are using a mobile application. So what we are trying is, when we are experimenting with B2B customers or corporate customers or SMBs, or we are experimenting with individuals, with our employees, we are trying to don't show the complexity at this moment of managing private keys on all these things. So we are trying to put as easy as possible interface to this customer. And also we are working a lot in the trade-off between security and usability, because you can put the things super easy, but you need to think that the security is super important. If you put a super top-level security, usability will just to go down. So for us, we are working, trying to experiment in this concept.
Yeah, so building on what Carlos just said, I think it's very important to have to control the trade-offs between security, hardcore security, as blockchain can provide, and user experience. And I think that there's finding that sweet spot is very important, because for big companies like us, doing a service that is going to be used by customers, normally you would have to keep their private keys. You would have to own that kind of infrastructure. So finding decentralization, real decentralization, and being able to do that with a good customer experience and security, I think is difficult. For us, we see tokenization in the terms of user information as a very important and very interesting thing to do in order to give back to the customers their information and all their data. Also, we see in our B2B, I mean in our internal processes, enabling blockchain for example, roaming industries, or for cloud, we see huge opportunities. I think
that's really interesting.
Yeah.
For example, I, as a millennial, there's something I really worry about, right? And it's about transparency of the services I purchase and I consume. And this is, I believe, a concern that is more popular now than ever. All of you are working in really big markets, really traditional one: education, energy, and banking, and telecommunications. What are your current efforts, and why are you using, especially blockchain technology? Are you using this technology to bring more transparency to your markets? If so, what are the benefits you are finding right now, and how are you implementing it for this purpose?
Okay, so regarding your last questions, Danny, I think from Tutelus, we were thinking a lot about the user experience, and for our point of view, the best user interface is no user interface. This is the best one. So we are trying to get an approach of the token in a completely transparent way for the users, right? So if you are a student, you are earning tokens, you are earning relevance. The most important for you is to know, like a very simple number of the relevance you are getting. You don't have to transaction it with tokens, because when I use my card, I don't care if the APIs of Visa works or not. So the best user interface is no interface. And speaking about, for example, the tailor-made products we are building, we are also trying to, we started a project with MIT 2 years ago, a deep learning project based on neural networks in Tutelus, trying to put an artificial intelligence working to get better recommendations for users. So we are trying to build as many different Tutelus as users we have. So each user will have a different version of the platform with different courses, with different careers, with different everything. So this is the goal. We are working on it.
Well, for us, for example, the transparency, I'm going to answer about transparency because I think blockchain is transparency, but it's not really transparent at all because everything is encrypted. This is one thing very interesting. But when you are doing trading operations between two agents, I'm going to take again the example of Enerchain. The thing is that sometimes you don't want to know who is the trader, who is behind until you make the final assignment. And this is very powerful for blockchain. Why blockchain? Because before it was impossible to do this with another technology. So the important thing about blockchain, when we find the use cases and study, is to really find things that cannot be done with other technology. Because if you can do this with a cloud platform, you can put the word blockchain on the project. Maybe you get some media interviews, but at the end, we are not really making things more efficient. So in this case, I will say that. Of course, the user experience has to be the same the previous system or even better, which is the case because they take the platforms that already exist and really apply it to be smoother than the ones they were before.
Yeah, to bring things a little bit more on the ground, like I'm from Share and Charge, and we are protocol-based on blockchain technology for charging of electric vehicles. And why are we using it? You were talking about trust. In the future, like what I believe is that every car, you have our own charging station at your home, and so blockchain is about decentralizing. And in certain areas, in certain markets, we very much see that it's a lot of decentralization happening, and exactly for that, we can use this technology, and they can use the technology to build more trust even then as well.
Yeah, and security also. I think security is the biggest value proposition for blockchain in age of increasing cyber threats. Blockchain is going to be the biggest tool that we can apply to secure databases, to have secure peer-to-peer transactions, even between corporates. And, well, the proof is out there. Some very big public blockchains, such as Bitcoin or Ethereum, has never been hacked. So I think it's important to embrace this technology and that power to apply to our own processes.
When you talk about transparency, I think transparency is super necessary. For example, to understand what the big corporates are doing with the data of the people. This is what we are seeing with the big digital players. And it's something that also Telefónica maybe is working to give this power to the customers and to the people. But transparency also is not only always good, because if you can, for example, between two SMEs or two corporates, you don't want to know that your competitor, or you don't want that your competitor know what you are doing. So you need veracy and traceability. And sometimes you don't need transparency. But if you don't have transparency, you need to have veracy and traceability. So it's one more time other trade-off.
Cool. This is what I say always: transparency to the level you want because you are encrypted. And taking about the charges, because maybe many people don't know your project, which I think is amazing. The thing here more important is that you start to have another thing we didn't have before, is the thing-to-thing business models. Yeah. You have business model that with the smart contract, even your car can arrive, you park it, and with the smart contract could decide whether if the price of that charger fits them for their purpose, or they prefer to wait another. And this is all put inside the smart contract, so this gives to our imagination and to the startups new business models, what I think is another of the important value propositions of blockchain. And I think there you are doing a very interesting work, because at the end, this allows you to do new things and develop the things we couldn't do before.
Yeah, I mean, in the machine-to-machine economy, and I believe that the EV industry is such an industry. If you think about like the future of car just driving on an inductive charging plate, and then the car itself pays directly to the charging station without the user interacting with it at all. And there we see that, I like your point with having no interface at all. Everything goes automatically, and that's what we dream about. But of course, to be very honest, we are at the very beginning. This technology is it is a challenging thing, and I guess you know it very much. And it will take some more months and years, I believe, until we reach that point of not having a good interface at all, or having a very good interface to then deal with blockchain technology.
So something that is really also curious for me is that user experience is not everything. For example, when I was a child, I remember that I used a lot the Encarta encyclopedia, right? It has such a better user experience than Wikipedia. But what happened? It closed in 2009 because they didn't have community, but Wikipedia did. So relating to this, if you had to weight whether it's more important community and user experience, what is your take on that? What are your works right now towards creating communities? How are you embracing them? For example, as a startup, you need a network, so you need big corporations for that. And if you're a big company, if you want to be really close to the market and be really efficient, right, in innovation, you really have to work really closely with the startups.
Okay, so in our case, community is everything because we are a collaborative platform. Our user is the final user. We have around 1.4 million students right now. And we use the token to empower the community. So the more the token is used for the people, the more knowledge these people get, and the more important are in the community. The government of the platform is decentralized in the people with more quantity of tokens, depending on the scale. So everything is about the community. We couldn't work without community, and the bigger the community will be, the bigger our token or the more valuable token we'll have. So yes, everything.
I think that community is super important. We have open platform, open APIs. Last week, I think we announced a fast-track platform for startups to have the opportunity to interact with BBVA. And community is something necessary to improve your businesses and innovation. But when we are talking about how the money or the value is being created now, it's about platforms. And now, one of the amazing things is that the token could change the structured model that the platform now is creating in a different ways. How you don't need, as you were talking, the decentralization, how you don't need natural intermediaries that we used to have now, and how the value is going to be distributed between the actors that is using this platform network or protocols. And for us now, is what we call this decentralized economy. Is one of the big changes that we are going to see in the next, 2, 3, 5 years. We don't know when. We know that it's going to happen, but we don't know when, of course. But we are experimenting in these new interaction models between different people in a community, in a platform, in a network. It changes value.
Yeah, I feel that we have now built a lot of protocols, and we have advanced in these last years in the ecosystem, I mean, as a whole, in the protocol layer. But the next frontier will be in the application level, in the second layer on this ecosystem. And that's, I think, where the users are going to come, because that brings the user experience. If you only have these kind of protocols, you're attracting
I think that and I agree with you, but also I think that one of the main changes that we are going to see is that we are going, or the promise is that we could have some kind of data society database instead of data silos. Yeah. We could have this kind of data for the society. And the power of this data is going to be in the hands of the users. For me, it's a big change.
Yeah, we've seen also in history how closed walled gardens like AOL, they were great for starters because they gave a big user experience. It was a lot of content there. But eventually, open platforms, openness kicks in. And value proposition there is huge, is worldwide. So important.
For us, I think we have a different approach. First, as we understand, blockchain is really overwhelming everyone who really wants to do things. We joined the Euroelectric blockchain community, which is Euroelectric is an organization that gets together electricity companies from 32 countries. This is a place where especially smallest utilities and the ones who have done the resources to push this, get together, talk about this, and learn together. The second approach is Alastria, that I think you should talk a little bit better about this because Carlos is one of the heart of Alastria. We are working within Alastria to make a Spanish collaboration infrastructure, and this is like making the infrastructure, but I prefer you explain it better. And within our company, of course, one thing is that you collaborate, another thing is that because we are talking about business, we are doing this because we want to do business. The approach we have is we develop the NL communities. In these communities, what we do is make that every specialist of every business lines get together in a meetings. So we put together people who are very specialists in every subject together with the technical people. And we put together and we have meetings to explain our projects and talk about the projects. Because, for example, Enerchain is a project who has been promoted by people from Global Training because they are the ones who know that, but they have learned a lot of many things, not only related to technology, about the legal issues, about how to build a consortium, about how to make the final exploitation because they have to create a society, and they give us all the information for the projects we are preparing. We are preparing projects for the next years. We are thinking how to implement one use case that is very common use, like the green certificates, to give it value. We are working on this for the last year. We hope to have something soon. And of course, in this ecosystem, we count on the startups because at the end there are startups that come to Euroelectric. We make meetings to them, and they have value propositions of things that we are not an expert on these things. And there we have scouted around 200 startups which are doing business models. These startups, you know, they are every kind of them, from them very, very early stage to ones that really have a lot of money and they have raised a lot of money.
Okay. So for the next step regarding where you really work with this technology, for example, if we are focusing right now on user experience, but when you really work with this technology, what you find is many issues, right? The first one is how can you manage the keys? If you centralize the system, it's not really that secure. If you decentralize that, then users, if they lose the keys, they lose the access to their information and their physical digital goods. So how are you approaching all of these constraints that the technology has and also the regulation to develop new products and services on top of new technologies, just not only blockchain?
Okay, so in our case, as in any startup, which is, I think, planning something similar, everything is quite complicated because there is no regulation, or regulation is, you know, no one has the correct questions and answers. And at the same time, technology is at a very early stage. For example, we started to develop everything over the Ethereum network, and after, you know, being 4 months with nightmares every day, we decided to change of blockchain. Okay, so we changed to the name blockchain, but it was a bad experience trying to implement our business model. And at the same time, in the regulation perspective, we try to make things here in Spain. We have to go to Switzerland. We finished in Estonia. Everything is difficult until now. So yes, I think we have a lot of you know, work to work together. Yeah.
As we started, we very much shielded the end customer from the blockchain at all, so they didn't know actually that they are dealing with a blockchain. And out of that, like, my big take is that we didn't 100% follow the vision of what blockchain has, and that's what we're now trying to change. And it's a really big challenge, as you said. Like, everybody, for example, is going to Switzerland. We're going to Switzerland as well, setting up a foundation there, because in the rest of Europe, taxation is a nightmare for building any blockchain protocol. So here, ask the regulators, we need something better to really get this blockchain protocols out there, and also that the end users in the end profit from it, because as we were shielding the user, we were losing a lot of benefits. And one night, for example, we spent, that was during the time of CryptoKitties, we spent like 500 euros only for gas because we were updating our charging stations.
It was the same night and you tried
It's
to
a night.
upload on a smart contract. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. So there's big challenges out there, but I believe that we take it.
For me, are also big challenges if you are working with private or federated blockchain. For me now, the technology is super early stage, but we have the first version, the version 1.0. So you have some kind of maturity or stability. You can make things. For me, the challenge now for corporation or for federated network is the governance. How you are going to maintain this federated network. That is not easy. There are different alternatives. The other one in public blockchain, for me, one is the volatility of the price. If you are working in Ethereum as a decentralized computer, you don't know how much it's going to cost, so you cannot deal with this. So this is a super big challenge. The other is, as we were talking, the UX. We can block the interaction from the user to the blockchain, but in some moment, for me, the user needs to start understanding that they need to deal with tokens, because in any case, someone needs to pay for this. And we are going to come back from the model that we have now. We are having free services because we are giving our data without knowing what is happening. So I think that the user needs to start, and we need to figure out the way to make this happen. I don't know how, probably with AI, without UX. So the user needs to deal with identity plus a wallet with tokens to interact with services.
So as the last question, we have 1 minute left. We all talk about the differences between the private ecosystems and the public ones, right? So what do you think will be the most relevant ecosystem for you as corporations in, let's say, 5 years from now? And I would like to make you one last personal question, and it's that, what does the token world mean for you and for you as a company as well?
In Tutelus, I think the token has the potential to change an industry, in our case, the educational industry. And we are trying to disrupt this classical sector with a completely new and different approach. So we are using the token and the blockchain to change the industry.
For me, the token is the way to connect our business models, to co-create with customers and develop new business and services with this token.
For Telefónica, we see the opportunity of tokenizing our networks and our services in order to become a platform company and be truly open to third-party business providers, network operators, and that's probably the blockchain future for Telefónica.
Yeah, tokenizing for me means taking centralized platforms and making them into markets. That's what we want to do for EV charging.
For me, a token is a way to represent value, and open network or the tokenomics is the way to define the interaction and the incentives between different parties that are interacting in some way. And we want to be part of this, of course.
So, well, thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you.